Man's nature is conflict-prone because of his basic needs for survival and self-actualization, which make man to be selfish. Man's instinct is to protect his own interest, as he is very ready to take steps or positions to do the same. He fights whatever it is that not consistent with his own ideas, for instance, environmental needs, religion, tribe, profession, status, sex drives, etc. These conditions determine his reaction in any given situation. Man's life, therefore, is a case study of quarrels, contentions, and struggles with himself and every other thing around him or that is within his reach. Does every conflict situation have a negative consequence? And his conclusion is, cooperation, not competition, is the word for quicker healings in conflicts. We all seek harmony, even if it's for a short duration. Remarkably, some harmonious events start a relationship, i.e. common bonds. It is not true that we come into conflict with each other or others with our pretty ideas, feelings, values, directions. Is it not true that we come into conflict with each other or others with our pretty ideas, feelings, values, directions, and purposes? Conflict either erupts occasionally or regularly, and it is difficult as we try our best to avoid it. We seem to be running into it. Conflict in marriage, I would say conflict always has a great purpose and can lead to peace. I like how he has made a friend of conflict. So let's share some conflict stories. Have you felt successful in conflict sometime in your life?
If you can keep it objective, you always learn from conflict. But if you attack, or if one person attacks the other, then that causes wounds and scars and things that it takes a lot longer to work through.
How would you work with a client with that concern?
You mean like teaching them skills to control their impulses, their, you know.
Or how would you take their inability to do that in a situation and find out more about what's going on?
Okay, yeah. Because it might be something that reminds them of, like, if your father verbally attack you, maybe not abuse, but maybe it was very verbal when you were a child, and so anytime anybody yelled or, you know, was very opinionated, it took you back, maybe thinking you didn't have much worth or something. So you really need to work on the whole basis of this. To me, is our worth with God, and then if you and God are together, you can face anybody, but you have to be able to think that inside. That takes years. Took me years to get to that point. I knew these two things, but then if someone yelled at me or put me down, I was very sensitive. I just would go into anxiety on the inside, try to stay calm, controlled on the outside. It was crazy. That is the hardest thing to do. I mean, it's like you're killing yourself. And I had migraine headaches, and that was what it was. It was like I was burning rubber with the brakes on, but I was acting nice on the outside, and I was in very responsible positions in work. And I would do anything they asked me to do. And a couple things in the hospital, I wasn't really ready for that yet. But I looked like I was, and so they put me in there. And I mean, I just about died. This was, responsible work. So it took me years to learn that, but now I know if I'm congruent with what God wants me to be, if that's congruent, I can talk to myself and to God and stay level. But that's a long journey. But that's what I think, when you know that yourself, you're going to be able to teach your client little tiny steps and do a lot of role playing, before they would go into another situation. And your boss and your husband can be the same thing sometimes until you learn this, because my husband was very bossy to me for years. He isn't now. But that's just the way it was. So I know how to do this. And I have lumps to show it. Lumps on my head. Are you okay?
Bruce, have you ever had a successful conflict? Or you like the outcome? Something you... Pardon?
Well, there's bunches of them, I guess. But, the principle, I think, is in conflict, listen. And, honor the other person's point of view to start with, which means kind of swallowing yourself a little bit. And I think that what really helps in that situation is if you have some confidence, frankly, that you don't have to be winning. If you start out in a conflict insecure and feeling that you're being threatened or that there's a battle and all that kind of stuff, you've got weapons. You're looking for weapons right away, and that's the worst thing you can do. So I think if you're going to go into conflict, you better do some self-work before.